my computer might just like freeze and I'll disappear, but then I'll come back. So don't.
Okay.
I need to get a new computer soon, but the live show will keep going even if I disappear. So
we won't worry about your vanishing act. We'll be
right. Okay, well, it's showing me an ad, so we're probably there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another author hangout at the Book Refuge. And today I'm so excited for our special guest, Serena Akeroyd, who is visiting us all the way from, you're in the UK right now, you said? Or
I am, right. Yep.
Yeah, so she's staying up late for us tonight. So I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's absolutely awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yay! And then we do have Taji from Taji's World of Books. And then surprise, we have Tiffany from Neverland Pixie on Instagram because sweet Jesson from Jesson Reads Romance has to study for a nursing exam. So we had to.
It's important.
We had to let her do that, unfortunately. Yeah. I wish I could have her whenever I wanted to. Yeah, she is a big fan.
Hashtag go nurses.
Yes.
Yes, she is. I heard one of her podcasts on Filthy, and I was like, shit, she knows more about Filthy than I do. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I listened to it all.
Yeah. I take a lot of credit for that because I got her and Juliet back into Mafia books, and so I gave them the creme de la creme. I was like, these are the ones you gotta read. Like, there are a lot of good ones out there.
Well, thank you.
But then there's the Filthy Feckers, and they're in their whole other level. So
thank you. Those filthy fuckers, they don't half fuck me over, I swear.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, they do.
We're gonna dive right in with some of these questions. So those of you who are watching, if this is your first author hangout, this is obviously just very low key. I have some questions that I ask every author, and then I have some questions that were sent in by you guys. And then once I've gotten through those, you guys can just throw in questions and we'll go from there until Serena has to go to sleep or whatever's gonna happen. So
bear in mind that I went to sleep last night at 5 a.m. So this isn't really my bedtime, just saying.
Perfect. It's like noon.
Woman after my own heart.
I'm all over the place.
I don't think
I'm all over the fucking place.
So we're gonna go ahead and start with this, which I ask everyone. When did you start writing and what was your first inspiration?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because I started writing as, I can't remember what you call it actually now. You know when you write ad copy? I wrote ad copy for my mum. My mum used to work for a newspaper and she needed help. She needed help with advertorials. And she was like, Gemma, no, none of the fuckers at this paper will do these advertorials. And I've got clients who need help. Could you just do it for me? So I said, oh, go on then. So I did it. And then one of the people said to me, he was like, I had so much response from that advertorial. Could you do another one? Could you do another one? And I was like, oh, right, shit, yeah, okay. And then gradually I had all of these little clients of my mum's who wanted more advertorials from me. And I thought, you know what? If I can sell alarm systems and restaurants, maybe I could write a fucking book. Because when I was 18, I happened to find Harlequin books. And oh my God, I fell into Harlequin, and I must have read 10,000 books of theirs. I used to haunt charity shops and stuff like that, and I used to get them. And I read I read from the 60s, the 70s, all kinds of stuff. So I was like, maybe I could do it. And I started ghostwriting. For some publishers, and it was that was my intro, really. And I happened to find out that one of those books that I'd ghostwritten had become a bestseller, and I was like, I can do this for myself. If I could do it for somebody else, I can do it for me. And that was when I wrote Simply Theirs. That was my first ever. It was called something different back then.
Yeah.
And I know that you've read it, Jen. Yeah, I guess I can see the covers.
Yeah, I love it.
And when you read it, you'll see fall into love. Those little subtitles. Yeah, they were the original titles of the Nookie novellas. So yeah, and it just came to be, and then that was 7 years ago, and it's taken a long time for me to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. And yeah, here I am. So yeah, it all started on quite a whim. I used to hate English, actually. I used to hate all things English literature, English. I mean, I read. I'm a reader, but I just used to hate the way that school taught it. And yeah, so it was just quite by chance. Yeah.
Are there any of those that like your NDA has run out that you're allowed to talk about, or could they still sue you if you tell us what you?
Yeah. I feel like they could still sue me, but to be completely frank, I can't fucking remember. Like, I found it by accident. It was like I searched character names because I never knew the titles of the books.
You just wrote it.
Yeah, they just sort of said, right, here is. I got to a point where they trusted me because it started off where they'd give me like chapter outlines, and then by the end, they were just like, "Oh, do what you want." And I thought, if I can do what I want, that's my story. Why would I do this for you when I could do it for me? But obviously, you know, publishing is an expensive process, you know, and it was kind of scary. It was very scary. That was how I made my living for a couple of years. And I was like, this is a big leap of faith to do it myself. And so I can't tell you because I don't remember. It's because I don't really get het up about that stuff because there's no point. I'm really glad that it did well. It was my like trigger to do it myself. I don't know if I hadn't have seen that, would I have thought I can do this? Right. You know, so you know.
I've spoken with one other ghostwriter before too, and I feel like that is something that can happen. It's like you get to a point where you're writing it for someone else, and it's like, well, why don't I do this for me? But
I mean, it depends as well. Like if you are a ghostwriter that gets a hell of a lot of money, like I didn't. I got a decent wage and everything, but like I did not get the tens of thousands like some big ghostwriters do. I think then it would be really difficult. You'd think, oh, fuck this. I'm not going through the stress of publishing. No, screw this. I'll just get paid. That's a lot easier. But for me, it was like, you know, let's weigh it up and let's give it a shot. And it paid off.
I'm so glad you took the leap. Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny because it was all paranormal. That's what I used to write. It was just like... all paranormal, and then I started with contemporary, and I kind of haven't looked back for a very long time, really.
Good. It's working.
Okay, so next up, what is a day of writing for you? And I know there's no like typical day, because that's what all the authors say. But like in general, what are your like goals every day, and what's it like for you?
Well, I mean, like, I guess if you look at this year, you know, I write a lot. And I think that's tied to the ghostwriting. I literally could not pay rent if I did not write. So I got very used to writing fast. So when I'm under the, you know, when a proper writing day is very long. It's about 10,000 words. It depends if it's towards the end of a book. It could be 15 to 20,000 words. It involves me literally doing nothing other than usually it's in bed. I'm just literally in bed all day. I will write on and off in sprints, and then that's it. Like, it's just pedal to the metal sort of thing. I don't have much of a life when I'm deep in the writing cave, to be honest. Like, I came to the UK 3 weeks ago, and like I've been walking my dog. I've been, you know, going for walks and stuff like that, and it's none of it is conducive to writing. I just literally can't do anything other than focus on the book. And one of the reasons why I had to delay Filthy Secret, you know, because I had to delay the pre-order, was because the move, the stress, the acclimating to it, and then like I had quarantine and everything. It was just like I could not settle. I could not sort of sit down and just write. My brain would not focus. So yeah, a typical writing day is incredibly boring. It is really, like, from the outside, it's really boring. Like, I'm just a zombie. You know, my mum will talk to me and she'll be like, Jenna. And I'm like, yeah, what? I'm eating dinner and I'm eating all kinds of, like, and then my brain's elsewhere. Because, you know, you've read The Feckers, so I think all of you read The Feckers. But they're very, especially towards the end of the series where we are now, like they're really, really in depth, and they have a lot. They take a lot out of me, but I love the brothers. I just love them. It's a pleasure and a curse because I love them so much, and I kind of put them through hell. It's really horrible. I love them, and I just have to like torture them and stuff. It's yeah.
Love it. Oh, it's so great. Some people have come to comments. Filthy Secret's gonna be worth the wait. Yes.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you. I'm so grateful for everybody's patience because, like, I know as a reader, I know that it's fucking horrible having to wait for a book, and I swear, if I could have done it, I would have. But I just knew I was not sort of getting it right. Can you hear me? It just went really quiet in my ears. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. It went super, super quiet. I was like, oh my God, can they hear me? But yeah, so no. I just knew that I was in a place where I would rush, and I can't do that to Finn and Aoife. That's not happening. Finn is my boo. I fucking love Finn, and like I know that there's filthy secrets are coming out, but I could not shortchange them. So I was like, nope. I think it happened on the day because I got my first vaccination as well, and I was like, I just need to not think about this for a little bit. Just have a pause, and then like I'm actually starting tomorrow the deep dive into finishing it. Yeah, because I like, what is a day of writing like for you? It's usually fucking loads of pressure because I leave everything to the last minute. I'm such a procrastinator. I'm so terrible.
Well,
as a reader, though, you have a whole universe for us to tap into, though. So, like, you have an entire universe that's intricate. So we have stuff to read while we wait.
Yeah. And it's actually crazy because like I have plans for more to come and stuff like that. And then when I introduced the Valentinis, the Don and the Lady, it was like, why are you adding this to the mix? Because it's like people already get a little bit confused with the reading order. Yeah. And I'm like, it's on my website, it's all there, and people ask me what's the reading order, and I have screenshots, and I'm like, this is the reading order, blah 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 blah. So people get confused, but I am a sicko in the sense that I like to make it as complicated as I can for myself. Sure. It feeds me. It's like it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And just like the shit that comes up in the Don and the Lady, it's like to me, because like my assistant, she's like, what do they call them? Easter eggs. They're not Easter eggs, and I'm like, they're fucking Easter eggs. They're Easter eggs because you read them and they're like massive surprise. Like if you just read the Don and the Lady, hopefully you enjoyed it. You don't think anything of it. But if you've read everything, there's shit in there that's for future books, and I just like get such a kick out of it, and I'm like, I know my readers are like, what's this? What's she coming up with here? Is this person coming up next? Is this what's going to happen? And I just love that. I love to like it fires me. It really gives me a lot of inspiration. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the best way that it is like it's very rewarding if you're in for the whole universe. And the more of them that you read and how you fill it in, the more satisfying that is. But you can still read just certain sections of it if you want to. And I think it still makes a lot of sense that way. But no, I totally agree. When I was reading the Lady and stuff that's happening is, I think both of us, when you'd announced Filthy Secret, I talked with Tiffany and I was like, did you see this? What does this mean? And so we were kind of like, what does this mean? Well, then I read the Don and the Lady, and I was like, this is what this means. This is what this means. I'm scared. Like, I'm reading it, I was like, oh no. So, but other people,
because I just can see your next question. Like, sorry for like what comes first for your characters or scenario. And it was really interesting because readers of the Lady, there's that scene at the beginning where Jenn is in Aoife's kitchen.
Yeah.
And we know what happens. I won't spoil it. We know what happens in the aftermath of that if you've read it. And that was not planned. I was writing it because I'm an automatic writer. And it means that like I'm just sort of sat there. I say that my fingers do the talking. And like it's just coming out because I have things planned. Not a lot because I'm a I'm a pantser. I know certain things have to happen. I know how I want it to end. I know what I need to occur at certain points, and I'm okay with that. I go in and I'm like, boom. But with that hit me. That hit me on the. I did not expect that, and I'm like, I'm writing. I'm like, why are you carrying on with this? What are you doing? And I'm just like, carrying on, and then all of a sudden it had all happened, sort of thing. And I'm like, well, okay, that had to happen for a reason. And it's something that, yeah, I envy people who can plan. I can't remember the author, but she was a very big author, and I remember it distinctly. She had a massive dining table. When I say a massive dining table, I mean like the size of, like, it was maybe 2 double beds, like lengthwise together in length. It was like a friggin' feast. It was a massive dining table. God. And she had a piece of paper the length of it, and she was on the top of the table writing out everything that was going to happen. And I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that you can do that you can sort of stick to that. Because for me, it's like my muse says, what are you wasting your time for, bitch? You just get writing. Stop wasting time doing this. Just dive deep into this story and I'll tell you where to go, sort of thing. I'll tell you what to do. And then, yeah, so I can never really do that. And I was super jealous that day. And then, everybody's got their own process. For me, characters or scenario, it tends to be a mixture of, like, with the feckers and the sinners, it's a little different because obviously I know most of them now. So if you'd have asked me like last January, I'd have had probably a different answer for you. But now I'm so deep into everybody. Like, obviously the next book in the sinners is Rex. Filthy Secrets the next in the feckers. So I know Finn and Aoife so well. I know Rex so well. I know them so well. So it's like, it's all a blurred line. Whereas with the Don and the Lady, obviously the Don was a whole new family. And I was like, okay. Because I had this thing where I didn't want them to be the same as the Irish. They're Italians. They've got their own way of doing shit. It was very important to me that they didn't come across the same way. But I have a thing where I think it comes from my days of reverse harem, where I love the interaction of guys. I love guys' interactions, how they shoot the shit together. I love it. And that's why I think I love that. It's really important to me that the brothers get on, that even if they argue, that they have, a connection, sort of thing. So I guess really the characters come first and then the scenario. Yeah, just thinking about like that answers it for me, because it's all about the guys for me, actually. It's all about the guys.
Do you hear the characters' voices in your head? Because some authors you hear as they talk about their writing process, you hear them talking about, like, I hear these characters like screaming at me and telling me their story, and I got to just get it written out and get it processed. And I think maybe that's a part of that whole like organizing and outlining and planning process. But I wonder, do you experience that as a live sort of in the moment writer as well? Hearing the voices of your characters.
I would say, in a sense, yes, and in a sense, no, because this happened 2 days ago. I got to a point in Filthy Secret and I don't want to say stuck, because I knew what needed to happen, but I needed to get somewhere and I wasn't sure how to do it. So I thought, I'm going to go for a nap. I nap a lot. What does my writing day look like? I nap like a toddler as well. Like, in between writing, I nap. So I was laying there and I was thinking, what do I need to happen? And I just saw Declan and Shay. Shay is Declan's son. And they were talking to each other. And I thought, Shay's got into trouble again. He's fighting. Because obviously in Filthy Sex, we know that Shay gets into trouble. And Connor solves it by stealing his bullies, trust funds for a little bit, reappropriating funds. And I was like, yeah, this is an issue. Shay wants to be president. He can't be fighting kids at school, sort of thing. He's got to be perfect, And I was like, yeah. So they talked to me then. I literally saw where they were. I saw how it was laid out. I saw what Declan was doing. I saw Shay's attitude. So it's in my head. So I sent myself an email with like a one-liner as a trigger, and then I went to sleep. And then so that's how I did it. Yeah. So I haven't actually written that scene yet. I haven't written that scene, but yeah. And then it straight away, I knew how to continue where I was going, because like I say, I had an issue. I went for a nap. I thought about it, and then it all flowed. Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, but not as I'm actually in the process of writing. Yeah.
Nice.
I like it. How about this one? What is the timeline of your next audiobooks? I have a lot of audiobook listeners. I love audiobooks. What's the next one's coming?
So the next one is Theirs to Cherish. Okay. That is coming, I want to say the 23rd of October.
Oh.
I want to say that.
Yes. So Friday.
Yeah, it's very soon. It's very soon.
Yeah.
And then I actually just signed with Podium. They're doing all the Sinners as well. They're going to do the Sinners.
Okay.
1 to 10 they're doing. So obviously they've even agreed to do the books that aren't written yet.
Nice.
And then, so I don't know when they're coming out because right. So I've never been into audio. And do you know how you know that? If you have read Filthy, like when I first released Filthy, you would know that Finn and Aoife would share chapter 1. It would be like Finn's part, and then there'd be an asterisk, and then it'd be Aoife, and then like a chapter break sort of thing. Well, that's not what you do when you do audiobooks. When you do audiobooks, they each have their own chapter. So I have to go into all the Sinners and make them. There you go. Anne is my executive assistant. There you go. October 26th. You can't rely on me for dates. There you go. And then it's Filthy Dark that's heading into production next. You see? She's my little ghost. She knows all this shit. So, but yeah, so that's how you know that I was never into audio. Anne loves audio. She loves it. So it's like, it's a big thing for her. For me, I love certain narrators. So, but anyway. And then, so Filthy Dark's coming up next, and then in production. But The Don and the Lady, they're coming out soon.
Okay.
I should be getting the masters back for that soon. That's Joe Arden. Joe Arden's doing.
I was going to ask you who you got, because Wen and Kai are my favorite. When they do Mafia, is my absolute favorite. Yeah. So they're doing Filthy, and I just love it.
Jacob Morgan.
I'm
actually redoing Filthy. I'm redoing Filthy, and Jacob Morgan's going to be Finn.
Really?
I might just have an orgasm when that happens. I'm just like, he's one of my favorite. Well, he is my favorite, and I was like, I need to have him as Finn, because when I realized I was doing Filthy Secret, which is obviously Finn and Aoife's, I was like, oh, I need to do this twice. And I was like, oh my god, it needs to be Jacob Morgan. It just has to be Jacob Morgan. So the actual lineup for the Feckers, oh my god, it's just literally an orgasm. Seriously, Connor Crace, Teddy Hamilton, just so good.
Yeah.
Right, so, there you go, Teddy.
Hamilton is definitely.
You got the goodies.
So it sounds like, since because you put out the reading order on your website, which I went to go check out because I am a stickler for reading everything in order and not having spoilers. And so my question is, the first book, All Sinner No Saint, that's not on audio. So is there going to be any plan? Because I think they come up in Filthy Rich. They make a cameo.
They do come up in Filthy Rich, yeah.
Right. So if you haven't, it's not like the worst if you haven't read All Sinner and No Saint, but you're like, wait, there's a good reverse harem story here that I need to go back and check out. So I'm just curious if it's going to come out on audio as well, or any plans there.
I doubt it. I don't think so. At this moment, I don't have any plans for it, because I am slowly veering away from RH. I'm not veering away from Menage. I'm not veering, I have.
I'm happy about
Menage is my
hard for me. Yeah. I don't like. I just have a tough time with reverse harem, but Menage is my favorite thing ever. So.
I love a Menage.
I think it makes sense. We've got, we've only got so many holes, and you have 5 guys. There's a lot to fill. There's a lot of situations to get yourself into.
It's like I just, it was an hour ago again. Oh my God.
And we recognize that they all need to be filled. That's what I'm loving about what you're saying. We recognize they all need to be filled. Because that's what I've been looking for in reverse harem.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when I first started, menage used to be up to 3 guys. Like, it used to be 3 guys, and now it's become where that's like our age.
Yeah.
But that, to me, isn't our age, really. That's menage. But, of course, that's the different... Everything changed when our age came about. Because, I mean, if I originally published with Harem Publishing, who are very much a menage publisher, they used to have 6 guys or more, and that was not reverse harem. That was menage. They consider that menage. They just
feel like
considered it a
reverse harem
massive
is a
menage.
newer term. I feel like it's a newer term to make it seem like it's a feminist term and somehow where it's like it's a harem, but it's reverse because the women's stuff. And I'm like,
whatever you want. It's still way too much.
Or it's not if there are swords crossing. Now, if there are swords crossing, then it's not too much. And I loved your 8-Wing Academy series. That was your fantasy reverse harem. So, like, you can do it.
Thank you.
That's my thing. So, Serena, that in general is my problem with the reverse harems that are sweeping TikTok and stuff right now, is they're all of them not sword crossing at all. And I'm like, I have no interest in it because my personal feeling. Now, this was a little bit different for me when I was reading hers, whatever. I read the first one of the collection. Is that they have a deep connection as friends. Like they are, so they are all important to each other. And then they're looking for a relationship to have with a woman. So that worked for me because of that. But in general, I don't like a reverse harem when the guys are in competition with each other. There's someone who has to be the top alpha. Like, for me personally, I want there to be a relationship where everyone is important to each other. So that's why menages work best for me, is that when there's 3, every part of the triangle is needed. Like the men love each other. They each love the woman loves both of them. But that's my personal, because then it's a romance to me. It's a romance if we're all in love, not one person being loved by 5 people. But that's my personal.
Right.
Well, no, it's true. I mean,
to enhance something about the relationship. It's all a necessary part of the triangle, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like also I'm actually reading that at the minute because I was in a funky mood this weekend, and I was like, I really want to read that again because I haven't read it for quite a while, and I was reading it, and it was really funny to read it because it was my mind. It reminded me of how much I actually love the harems when they are friendly, sort of thing. When they have a connection, and it made me see parallels between the sinners and the feckers, and how the guys get on so well, and when somebody fucks up, they'll try and help. They have each other's backs. That I don't really like it personally, as a personal preference of a reader. I don't like it when the guys aren't on board, when they're arguing. I don't. It's not my thing. I like if anything, I like the guys to be settled, and then the woman to be the issue, sort of thing. Because then, to me, it makes sense. Like with Quintessence made sense to me because the 5 guys were all very much. They knew what they wanted. They didn't think it was possible. Yeah, they'd been burned along the way, but they knew what they wanted. And like Sasha comes in, and she's she changes stuff for them, and that makes sense to me. Like I like you can say, how realistic is it for a housekeeper to fall in love with 5 sexy bosses? They're all nerds, but they're all fucking hot as shit. It's like how realistic is that? But like to me, I do like a sense of realism. Like I need to think about this. I need to think about a woman having to manage 5 guys. I need to think about those things. Like I have to make sense in my head. So with Quintessence, Sean, he's incredibly busy. He travels for work. He's very stressed. I feel like when it eventually comes out, the BDSM aspect of their relationship comes out. That made so much sense to me. He needs control. He needs to, everything made sense in that sense. And unlike Kurt doesn't need sex. Kurt likes watching. He likes to be involved, but Kurt likes to watch. So I was like, right, okay. And then Devon and Sawyer tend to do it together. And then, and Sawyer doesn't like it when, they do cross swords, like, because they obviously have sex, but he doesn't like feeling Devon's balls against him, sort of thing. And, and then Andre, again, he's a dom as well. So, like, they all have their own specific places in my head. And it works. It works for me. So if I can make sense of it, then I feel like, okay, this is doable. This is achievable. A woman can have 5 guys as long as it's properly scheduled. As long as there's a routine, then it's doable.
Yeah. I think for me, in the reverse harems I read where like 2 of the guys hate each other or there's a conflict in there, that's when it starts to feel like a cheating scenario to me, because it's like if not everyone in the relationship doesn't get along or isn't on board, then that's cheating to me. Like, again, personal thoughts. You can want to read this story and just be fine with that happening. That's fine. But to me, it's not a satisfying romance if one of the guys who wants to be with her doesn't want her to be with anybody else. Well, then he needs to go find a woman who wants to be monogamous then, not someone who wants to be in a,
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true, because it is all about the characters and what they want and what they need, and it's definitely, RH is definitely a personal preference or not, I find,
For sure.
I've just found I'm more and more specific about it as they've gotten more popular, and it seems like everyone has one. I'm missing what I like about them the most when I would stumble across one that I loved because they weren't as popular a few years ago. Your menage that I read, Simply that was one of the first menages I read. I'd read like 2 or 3 before. I just had read the very first one I ever read was Katie Roberts that she wrote theirs. And so then I stumbled across yours and I was like, I like it in a very specific situation, not just whatever. But anyway, okay, we have to keep moving. I have a lot of questions. All this is interesting. Who is your favorite hero that you've written about? No, I'm going to put this.
Oh, that's a very hard. I have written a lot of books.
Yep.
That's a very hard question to answer. I don't think I could answer it like for all time. I think per series I could, and obviously I got a lot of series, so I don't want to answer that like all of them. But I don't particularly have favorites because they all bring something to me. They all do something that I need them to do. Like in the Feckers, I need Connor to be this kind of like super intelligent, know-all guy, but he will do anything for his family. And then I need Aiden to be kind of bossy, but he is ready to reign. He is ready to control any situation. And then that's why I love Filthy Hot as well, because like obviously he was doing the opposite of that. He had it all set out. He was ready to be king, and then addiction came and fucked with him. Because life happens. And like they've all got in my mind this separate place, so I can't sort of say. Like I love that Declan jacks off to Van Gogh's. I just love it. I love that. That's his thing. I just love it. The idea of this guy who is not allowed to friggin' go to museums, has his own personal museum. I just love it. And I love that Ayla, she sees that the first time and she's like, oh my God, we need to fuck right now. We need to have sex in front of this.
I know, that's such a good scene.
I just knew that when that happened, and they've all got their own thing. Like with Filthy Rich, I needed Owen. He's this controlled OCD sniper, and I could just easily see him with Inessa burning the wedding dress. And like it was just they all
their blood vow is like their blood vow is one of my favorite things you've written ever. I
was influenced by Jenn. Jenn projected that book. She influenced me. I read the entire series because of Jenn's reaction to the second book. I mean, Owen made the chains that Inessa was bound by feel like freaking cashmere. It was just, So yeah, Jenn completely influenced me, and then it's just been like a floodgate ever since. She was like, "This is primo Mafia."
I love it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well, he's just so, like, it's just so well set up because it's like literally she knows his whole family better than him because she's been invited to these events, and he's like, I don't want to marry this child, which fair enough to not want to be engaged to a child, but then like literally dragged by his teeth to the altar, and then she walks up and he's like, who the fuck hurt you when you were promised to me? Who did? I'm gonna kick their ass. I just love that because he literally had no interest in this at all, but then he's like, but she's mine, so who the fuck touched her? I love that shit.
And I love how they're sat in church and he's like, who did it? And she's like, nobody, don't worry about it, don't worry.
At the altar.
Like, I'm not letting this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have actually been to very few weddings, but I know how like they have that in the middle, that super it's really, sorry if you're religious, but it's a super boring long sermon, and they talk about all the same things about how marriage is super important, and like they're not very religious, so they're just sat there, and I could just see it, and he's like, who did it? I need confirmation. I mean, it had to be a dad sort of thing, but I love the idea of them going to sign the register and him just dislocating the guy's shoulder. I had such fun. I had such fun with it, I swear to God.
And then like when he's gone and he comes home and she has bruises, and he's like, motherfucker, I already warned you. So he's like, put my gun back up and I'm gonna go.
I love that he was all fired up, right? He was all pissed. Right. She's not been answering texts, and what the hell's going on? And then he walks in and gets eyes on her, and that's like out the window. And he's like, what the hell?
She doesn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
She just doesn't put makeup over it. And it's just like, here, see what happened.
Yeah.
They don't even have to say anything. Oh.
And in the same breath, Jenn pointed this out as she was reading. He watches films with her. He watches her age-appropriate.
Not just that. To all the boys I've loved before. For his honeymoon. Instead of having sex with her.
I mean, he has range. I was like, oh my God.
Because like at the time, I had recently just watched that, and I was like, an 18-year-old girl is going to want to watch that, and she's going to, she's not going to want to watch football and stuff. And I think, that's the thing about Owen. He really became a very good husband. He had no intention of being a good husband. He had no intention whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, she just fit in. She just came and she fit in, and it made sense. And that's what I say. Like, they all have this characteristic, a specific characteristic that just makes me love them. And that's why I can't have a favorite. In each book, they all do something that makes me love them. Whether that's the perk of writing the bleeders, I guess. It means I can do whatever the fuck I want. And it's like with the Don. I'll never forget when he says to her, like, my face is your throne. And I was just trying to imagine this Regina Mia, because I had this lovely lady. Her husband is Sicilian, and she was like, if I send me some words over. I thought, I apologize. I said, I'm so sorry for these words, but they're Mafia. It's just these really random words, and they were all really violent.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I promise I'm not psycho. It's just that it's, the Sicilian Mafia sort of thing. And she says, oh, don't worry about it. We swear all the time at home, just not in front of the kids, And so she sent me this list back of all these like random words. And it was, as I said before, it was really important to me that they came across as a Sicilian, not Italian. Because if you think about it, I have spent, I think, what is it at that point? Maybe 15 books telling you, readers, to hate the Italians.
Yeah.
To hate the Famiglia. And I was like, from the start, these are not Italians, they're Sicilians. And if you talk to Sicilians, they're Sicilians. They're not Italians. And it's a genuine thing. They are. It's like if you say to a Scottish man, I'm not an Englishman, I'm a Scot. And it's a very important differential.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like super important. So I went through it and I peppered it with different things that were Sicilian, and I did a lot of research into men have favorite characters.
Say their name. Say their name.
Who's your favorite? They're never gonna watch this video.
God.
I can promise you, your cover models are not watching this video. So just tell us who it is.
Well, it's really funny because, like, you know, the Don, Andrew Bierner, I know his address because I sent him books.
Oh,
it was just, oh my God. Andrew, the Don, I love that one. That's one of my favorites. But
yeah,
Filthy Rich, because obviously I revamped the whole series because I needed the boys. They're boys to me. I know they're men, and they're men to you, and they're alphas and sexy and stuff like that, but they're boys to me. Like, I needed the boys to reflect who they were. And Owen, when he's like that, and it's just like, oh my God, he's just gonna go kill somebody right now. And I was just, young. And Brennan, filthy sex.
Oh my
filthy
God.
sex. Like, and if you need to follow him on Instagram. Brady Irvin. He eats donuts. And it looks like he's going down on the donut. And you're just like, this guy eat, and he has cream all over his mouth. And he goes like, he's looking, it's addictive. I don't really go into that stuff, but even when I'm watching them, I'm like,
you're like
wow.
done for at that point, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently he has a 4-bite rule. So he has to eat the donut. And I feel as if that's he appeals to the women with the whole mouth action, but he appeals to the gays with the fact he can get this whole fucking donut in his mouth. Because he can get a lot in his mouth. Holy crap. Yeah, he is wasted as not having an MM relationship. I'll just say that.
I will. So this is a random thing. I'm very excited that you'll have the audiobooks for the Dawn and the Lady very soon, because the fact that Lucio calls her Jennifer when they're having sex, I'm ready for this to happen.
It's funny because I have a Jennifer. I have Jennifer in some street, and I was like, I need to be careful here because, like, he sort of says, you know, Fiona Bar sort of thing. He goes that when he pronounces the Irish name. And I was like, I know. I was like, Jennifer's around the world are going to be really pissed at me for this. But it was like, you know, because I try and bring in, you know, the Irish Gaelic and stuff like that. Because it actually caught, like, oh God, so many people get mad at me for calling her Aoife. I get a lot of people mad at me for the way that I spell the names. Like, they do that. Like, why did it have to be spelled this way? And it's like, I didn't do it on purpose. It's just how the Irish do it. You know, her mum is Irish.
There's a pronunciation guide. Don't be a.
That's what I'm. Exactly. You give a pronunciation.
I try.
Yeah.
I definitely try. But I know they're very unusually spelled. But, like, to me, that again is, you know, it's like Lucia.
Yeah.
There's a Sicilian. It's Sicilian, and it's just, I don't know. I try to, like, make everything as authentic as I can. Probably fail to some people, but I try my best, you know.
When Jesson was reading the Dawn, she was messaging me about it, and she was saying Luciu, and I was like, she was calling Luciu or Luciu. And I was like,
pronunciation is sexy,
but it made me laugh.
I know people just decide on, like, what they're gonna call them. I know they do. Yeah. Like, and I just sort of go. I never correct. Because it's like, you know, in Harry Potter, she's Hermione, isn't it? Hermione Granger.
Yeah.
When I read it, to me, she was Hermione.
Oh.
She was Hermione, and like I was 12 at the time when I read it. So yeah, and then when the movies came out and it's Hermione, I'm like, oh my God, I got this so wrong. And I used to say there was a character called Seamus, and it's Seamus. You know, I actually have fucking Seamus now.
Yeah.
All these names, and I was like, wow, I got these so wrong, you know, as a kid. And so I never say anything, but it's just like I always try to put pronunciation guides in. I always try, and I always like try to make sure to do that, because I don't know, it's like they are so. It makes me laugh because like one of them's been to Ireland. They're all so fucking Irish. Well, you know, because of Aidan Senior. And it just makes me laugh because they're not Irish at all.
Right.
They're not Irish at all. Oh,
I mean, they were like, most of them were like born in the U.S. anyway, right? Like of the
All of them.
characters. Yeah, they're all born here. So
well, yeah.
none of them would have an accent or act like they were. It's only Aidan Senior.
No,
so
exactly. And he's so insistent that they're Irish, and I just go with it because it's Aidan Senior.
We're gonna keep going.
Insane.
This is a different twist on it of like who was the most like inspirational character to you. That's easier
Camille.
maybe than who's your favorite. Oh, I'm
Yes.
so glad you said that. Oh my god, I can't. So okay, I'm gonna tell a story real quick. Because it's my channel and I can. So when I read their book for the first time, I was reading it, I was crying, I was loving it so much. You know, I'm just like, oh, I can't handle this book. So I get to the part where she has a nice snack. I'm sure you know what I mean. Keeping it vague for other people. And I messaged my friend Juliet and was like, you are not going to believe what just happened. This was so amazing. Like, because I'm in the moment of the story. I'm like, this just happened and it's so beautiful. And I'm like crying. And she's reading and she's like, what the fuck is this book? That is horrifying. And I was like, what? It's so beautiful. And I like was crying and I was like, okay. So for the longest time she was like, well, I'm gonna read the other three, but I'm not gonna read that one. That is so disturbing. And I was like, no, you have to read it. It's amazing. And so finally between me and Jessen and all of us talking about it, she finally read it and she's like, you were right. I now understood the moment when it was happening. And I was like, I told you so. She gave me such shit about liking when that happens. And then she read it. I was like, I'm not a psychopath.
I feel like no, you're not. It's like, well, I mean, if anybody's a psychopath, it's me because I come up with this crazy shit. You know,
yeah.
These things don't just happen. They get, you know, I put them down on paper. But it's Camille. She, you know, I had very little intention of making her a fecker. You obviously meet her in The Sinners, and I had no intention of making her a fecker. She was gonna be an old lady.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of hate at the time. And people didn't like her because obviously they're like, you know, it makes per book, you like the hero and the heroine. You don't like any other women. I get it, you know, I totally get it. And they did not like Camille. So I was like I said, I make things hard for myself. Remember that whenever I do anything, like I did not have to make Camille a heroine. I didn't have to do it, you know. Mm-hmm. And I approached it with everybody hated Camille. I when I announced it was Camille, I'm like, oh, it's her. Right. And now it's really amusing to me because people now they're very hesitant to read Nick's because they hate how he treated her, never thinking that it was the other way around. It was the other way around, you know. I started with people hating Camille, and now it's people hate Nick's. And I kind of shot myself in the foot there, to be honest. But it was, I don't know. The thing with Camille is she's inspirational to me because she, you know, you can live in a gilded cage. You can have everything. But if you're not loved, and if you are just a commodity, you don't have anything. And I think she was in danger for so long, and she felt so much shame about leaving her sisters, and she felt so much self-loathing, and I often feel like she had just no self-worth, and it was really like when I was writing her, she had no self-worth. And I am a feminist, so I do not judge women. I know the club whore world and everything, the title is not a feminist title, I know that, but you know, I try to make sure that my club whores are different than other worlds and other authors' worlds, because sometimes it comes out, sometimes it doesn't. But like with Camille, I didn't want her to be a bitch. I didn't want her to be a bitch. Like in Nick's, I don't know if you've read Nick's, but she
I've read it.
She realizes that Julia and Nick's love each other, and she fades. Yeah. She fades away.
Yeah.
She didn't have to do that. I didn't want other women drama.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't.
could have been like all up in the angst and drama with it, but she just really gracefully.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And you read Filthy Sex and you realize she loved him.
Yeah.
She loved him. She thought she loved him, but she loved him. He was protection. He was safety. He, to her. And then Brennan comes in, and Brennan doesn't want her. And he's like, he just sees the things that she does, and he's like, no. And there's, if you remember in Filthy Sex, in between chapters, you'll read like little excerpts from her thoughts, I think, things she's written down over the years in her diary. And it was weird because I wrote those after I was about 3/4 of the way through the book, and I wrote those afterwards, and I thought, oh, God, this poor girl. I'm so glad she's got Brennan.
Yeah.
I'm so glad because she needed a Brennan. She needed Brennan to come in and just I don't like to think that a woman needs a man for self-worth, but I think sometimes you just need a little helping hand just to see the woods through the tree, sort of thing. And I think he gave her that, and he was like the spur the trigger that she needed to see that she's fucking awesome. And then the arc of her, obviously when she gets a bit, when she gets to that point, I know. I was, because it's funny because I'm kind of graphic, but I was in a situation where I was forced to, and I thought, why didn't I bite?
Right.
Why did I not do that?
She did what we all
we
wish
never
we
do that.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing too. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, that was an option?
Yeah, exactly. We just don't do it. It's like, oh my God forbid that we do that. And I think it was years before. I remember, did you ever watch Grey's Anatomy?
Yes.
I think it's season 1, and there's a girl that comes into the hospital and she has the glands in her mouth. Do you remember that? Or is it just me? That's like early on in the beginning.
What does she have?
Grey's Anatomy.
Gland.
The tip of his penis.
Okay.
She has the tip of his penis in her mouth because he knocked her out, the rapist. And but she came in and she was like comatose actually, and she had the tip in her mouth, and that was how they realized she'd been raped.
Right.
And it was Patrick Dempsey as well. So oh my God, he was her doctor at the time, and I'm just like, oh my God, I love you. But anyway, so it's just not something we do. And I thought, Camille has balls. She is now gutsy, and she can do this. And so and like that actual moment, that scene. It
isn't just for her. It's for
her sister.
Like that's what it was.
And it's for the future.
She put up with all of that was done to herself before, but she's not going to let it happen to her sister. So it's like, he's going to kill me. I just love that. She goes, she's like, he's going to kill me for doing this, but he's not going to be able to hurt my sister the same way. Because it's not going to be there. So, anyway.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, I love hearing that. And I mean, I think my first interaction with you was you telling me, you're like, hey, can I send you a book? How about Nick's? And I was like, no, you may not send me. Because I was a Fecker girl and I read all the Feckers first. And then I read Nick's and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, I know there's a purpose. I know this came first, but you've made me love Camille too much to go backwards.
And see, and I've gone the other way, where I read Nick's first, so I don't feel like that about, right? And I haven't read Camille's book yet, so I don't feel quite that way, So when I get there, like, I'll have to see what, and we've talked about this, Jen, so we'll see, like, what happens as my thoughts evolve with it.
Yeah.
It is definitely about where you start with the series, because it just changes everything. I mean, I'm pretty proud of that, actually. I'm pretty proud that you can read something and it can just completely shit. I mean, the thing about Nick's is that it makes me laugh because Anne, she's online, and she will say to you that she hates Nick.
Yeah.
She hates him, but she loves their story.
Right.
And but she loves their story because, like, Nick's is so broken.
He is.
And he is so fucked up. And I think he needs somebody. Like, that's the thing with Camille. You can't have two broken people together.
No. Work.
You can't. And Julia is not broken.
Right.
So she comes in and she sort of, like, she doesn't obviously do this, but she headbutts him. She headbutts him into life. And, like, it's so interesting to me to have these very two different people, and that's why as well, like in Filthy Sex, like I'm spoiling this, but you know, like that last call when Nick's sorry, and I feel as if
that was
I didn't do that as a token.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't do that as a token. I didn't, because I thought Nick doesn't have to do shit. He's a fucking vice president of an MC. He doesn't have to do dick.
Yeah.
But he's got a little girl now.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's gonna feel like a jackass. I feel like these guys, they don't realize what absolute bastards they are until they become fathers. I saw a TikTok actually, and it was this guy who said, fathers and brothers are so protective of their sisters, their daughters, their wives, because they're men and they know more than anybody what men will do to women.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. And it changes. I think it changes the person, because, like, you know, Nick's having a daughter would change everything. Can you like? I can't even imagine how that poor girl. She's gonna be like, you're not allowed to go out. No boyfriends until you're 40. Like, literally no boyfriends until you're 40. Because I will kill him. I will kill that man, you know, if he touches you. You know. But yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where with Nick's, I love Nick's. I know he's flawed, but he is.
Yeah. I love him for his flaws.
Yes, I love that he does something.
Yeah.
To purge. He purges, and that's what he does. He goes out, and like now we're at this sort of crossroads in the series where he has to not do what he's inclined to do, because he has a family, and that's a struggle. That is a struggle. I mean, it's pretty cute, really. He's struggling not to kill paedophiles. It's so fucking surreal, but you know.
Yeah. Okay, we're very interested for this one.
Of course,
and is it going to be a Sinner book or a Fecker book? That's the question, because I think it could be either.
It isn't with Lodestar, please. Lodestar, please.
Well, who else is it going to be? I mean, unless she gets
exactly. I can tell you that it happens in the Fecker world.
Okay.
It happens in the Fecker world. It will be coming next year.
And is it?
It will be the last book in the series.
Yeah. Okay. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
And it will technically end the whole Sinners and Feckers universe.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the end, because obviously we know it's not, because the Dawn of the Lady. Stan has some cupcakes to eat, and he has a lot of things to do, and Rory's got shit to do too. But and I mean, I've said that Victoria will get a book. We don't know who her hero is, but I know who her hero is, but you guys don't. And that's going to be fun. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Victoria. We've seen Inessa, we've seen Camille, and we're going to see Victoria. And if you think about it, Victoria is at that age. She's just coming into this family.
You mean we don't know who her hero is?
I know, right? I'm like,
no,
we haven't met him?
No, you don't.
Oh, that makes me sad. I'm so sad. Dang it. I want to know. I thought I knew who he was. I met him?
I have people who are Team Shay and who are Team Maxine.
Okay. That's not a team I've heard before. Wow. Okay.
I know. I'm like, wait.
Oh my god. In my reader group,
blew my mind, because I was like, that's a possibility. Okay.
Yeah, because like I have a lot of people who are like, she can't go with Maxine. You can't make her go with Maxine. And then there are people like, oh yeah, she needs to go with Maxine. But yeah. I
don't know. I'm a Bratva bitch though, so I'm ready for the Bratva to be in. So
I love Bratva.
I don't know.
I love it so much.
You're gonna do what you're gonna do, but I thought that was I was sure that I knew what that was, so now I'm like,
it actually amuses me, because Bratva is my favorite, and I haven't fucking written a Bratva yet.
That is
what the
crazy.
fuck's that about? I love Bratva.
I know. Well, it did.
And then
it did kind of surprise me when you announced the Dawn and the Lady and like who it was going to be, because I was like, oh, I didn't expect the Sicilians to be the like choice we were going, because I was like, anyway, I'm excited about that.
Well, I mean, it's like, I feel as if Victoria, you know, she's a child right now, and I am very much on a timeline that is now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just in the actual books, it's just turned 2021, really.
Yeah.
And
they're all pretty,
you know,
they're all pretty happening right now. So
yeah, so she can't have a book until, you know, 2031, really. Well, no, not 2031, but you know, later on, at least you know, 6 to 10 years down the road.
Series that takes place 10
years. But Connor will definitely be getting a book.
Boom.
Right.
It's really cute to me though how you guys think that it was a possibility that Connor wouldn't get a book. I have so many people asking me that.
That was not my question.
I'm like,
oh no, we knew it was coming.
No, I knew.
I was just trying to get
Thank you.
We knew.
Yeah. I'm just sharing the questions people sent me. I know something. I was like, you think we would do every brother but this?
But
the keyboard pianist.
Yeah, like we had to get like an FAQ in my reader group for people to know that Connor is getting a book. Like, it's gotten to the point now. So you see, the problem is once you do a pre-order, you are tied into the date.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you might not think it, but that is a lot of pressure.
Oh no,
I believe pressure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this year, like when December happened, when December's over, like middle of December, I'll have written 11 books.
Yeah. Wow. You're insane.
And these are not little books.
No.
These are big motherfuckers. They're like Storm.
Some big daddies here.
Yeah, like
and they're
Storm
intricate.
is 170,000 words.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 170,000 words. Hook was like the Donald Lady, 170,000 words. They're all fucking massive, and that takes its toll. And they are intricate, and they're detailed, and I go into it, and it's very, very tiring. And I mean, I love it, but it's tiring. And so when it comes to the remaining book and everything, with the rest of the series, it's difficult to put a pre-order down because like people now, I have some people who are upset with me because of Filthy Secret, and that's just because I put a lot on myself this summer. You know, July it was Storm, then it was August the Dawn, then it was September the Lady, and then it was, you know, supposed to be Filthy Secret in October. And I'm human. I just couldn't do it. So there is a pressure with pre-orders. So we've figured out a workaround to let people know that Connor is getting a book, because it's a problem. People are constantly asking me about it, and I'm so grateful that they're excited. But it concerns me that they think it's not a possibility. Like, I'm like, Connor is awesome. He's fucking brilliant. Like, how the fuck could I not write his book? Seriously, I'm so like, I'm terrified.
I think that's so interesting to me. And also, like, independent authors have spoiled the fuck out of readers. Like, let's just remind people that self-publishing and like publishing with KU and Amazon, like you people are spoiled. Okay. Do you remember when you'd get like one historical romance from an author a year, or traditionally published once a year? So just calm your damn self down. Right. And chill out. Like, I'm excited too. We're excited. Go meet some new authors while you wait for this ones to come, or, you know, like, I mean,
it's one of those things that I'm grateful.
Right. Oh, sure. You know, it's not like
I'm so grateful. I remember a time when, you know, like, I remember a time when people didn't give a shit what I wrote. They didn't care when, they didn't care who. And then to have this character be so beloved that I have people joining my reader group just to ask that question. They're like, I joined because I need to search the Diva group to see if this has been answered, you know? So I have people specifically joining my group for that. And it's like, there is such a joy to that, to know somebody wants his book. But equally, it boggles my mind. I'm like, I would be not right in the head if I did not write his book.
Did you just put like untitled Connor O'Grady book coming sometime? Like, I mean, Goodreads will have like covers, you know, where it's like you don't have the cover yet, but it says it's coming. So
in December, I believe it's December, you're gonna see his cover.
Okay.
You're gonna meet him. You're not gonna get him for a while. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right.
It's next year, but it's certainly not like, the next book
That's
next
okay.
year is.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'm preparing for his story anyway because I've read all of them. I know it's going to be heavy. I know there's going to be healing involved. So I want you to do whatever gets your alchemy, because that's what I believe your process is. It's freaking alchemy.
Thank you.
Whatever gets the magic going, because that story is going to be, it's going to be a heavy one. I'm excited about it.
I have a feeling like they progressively get bigger as well. So I have a feeling that their book is going to be the longest book because Connor's complicated and Lodestar's complicated.
Well,
complicated.
You also have so many characters in each of those books too. Like you involve a lot of POVs.
Yeah.
Which is like that's something that I do feel like can make it hard if someone's jumping in at different times. Is like that's in there. So that's something that I warn people about if they're just gonna, if they're like, oh, I'm just gonna read the factors. And I'm like, cool, good to know.
Sure.
No, you're gonna see these names. This is the series that they're from. She will tell you most of the pertinent information you need to know about them in this, but
it helps, I think, as well that I am writing them in order. Like I finished The Lady, and I dive into Filthy Secret, and like I'm writing them in the order that they're written. So that's why they should really be enjoyed in that order. Like I say that you don't have to read. Like I got on my fucking way to make sure that if you don't like MC, you don't have to read the MC. And if you don't like Mafia, you can just read the MC. I do my damnedest. I might fail sometimes, and if I do, I'm sorry for that because I don't mean to. But I really work hard to make sure that they're separate. But equally, I know that if you read them in order, I just know that it's like a beautiful banquet that's coming your way. And to some people, it's too much. It's too much. It's a very big universe. It's a massive universe, really, and it's a very long reading order. But I am a whale reader, so I know that if I like the first book, I know that I'm going to read every single fucking book in the series. I know. Right. So it's one of those things where I know that some people will love it, some people will hate it. I try to make it so that the Feckers in particular are standalones in the sense that it all culminates. There might be bits that, there might be still bits you need to know, but I do my best with those ones. But I think one thing that, I think it was Anne said to me yesterday, actually, she said, like, if you think about it, Connor and Lodestar's book has happened over the series.
Right.
You see the progression. Like we've had Connor admit that he loves Lodestar. We had that happen in Filthy Heart. Mm-hmm. We don't really see Lodestar's point of view from that, but come on.
Yeah.
She would not, they would not get on the way that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to say, Tiffany? So sorry, darling.
We got clues though, because she kind of taps into what's going on with him, and she cares enough to do so. Where before she would have been like, "I'm out."
So I would go as far to say that she is so closed off to sex that she is not a sexual being anymore, really. And then I think Connor has just like, that I think it's one of those things where I have a lot of geniuses in my characters. There's always at least a genius because I'm a sapiosexual, so I find intelligence to be incredibly attractive. So there's always at least one who can do the shit. So I feel as if that's an incredibly lonely place for those people. And I feel like if you meet your match, somebody who can beat you, that's like, oh wow. That's what I feel like for Lodestar and Connor. I think they always were meant to meet. And it makes me happy to know that that's coming.
Mm-hmm. And it triggers some vulnerability in them, because that's how I see them. He has been my keyboard pianist, my Mozart with tech, and he has this sense of self-mastery. He's such a jokester with his brothers. He comes seamlessly and fixes every problem. But if he meets his match, for Lodestar as well.
Yeah.
Then that triggers a vulnerability that they're not well versed in, and now they're mere mortals, and I cannot wait for that.
It's so
You
true.
know?
It's like I have these things that they do, like Connor's cat. You know the cat.
Yeah.
Well, the cat is because my mum bought this fucking horrendously ugly cat, and it's like covered in diamantes, and it's the ugliest thing ever. And I looked at this cat, and I was like, "You need to be in Connor's life. You just need to be in Connor's life." And I was like, okay, so now he puts his feet up on this cat, and he's like, this cat is there, and he could come across as crazy, but I was just like, he needs a cat. He can't kill this cat. The cat doesn't need food. It's just his he's just waiting. He's waiting for Lodestar. So and I'm just, can you imagine them in an apartment together? Oh my God. Like, can you imagine the room full of computers?
Right.
And when they get together, the mayhem they will cause. Oh my God. It's going to be delicious.
All right. We're going to transfer away from your book specifically to ask a few like reading questions in general for you. So
Yeah.
what is your favorite romance trope to read? Like that you enjoy when you get the chance, when you're not writing hundreds of thousands of words?
Historical. I love historical. I love historical so much. I don't read as much as I'd like because I like a specific type of historical.
Yeah.
I like them to have sex. When they don't have sex, it gets me so mad. I'm just like, oh God, I can't cope with them just kissing. Like, that's not sex. I tend to read like Lisa Claypass a lot and stuff like that, but sometimes I just need them to fuck.
Yeah.
I just need them to just fuck, and it just, when they take forever, it gets me really impatient. So I tend to like it when they're married and they have like issues, and I prefer that. Like, I think is it Stephanie? Oh God, what's the name? Lawrence. There's like Stephanie Lawrence has a few of those, and I like those the best. They're very rare though. They're very rare, and so I tend to read them. But there are some that I love, and there are some that they,
Maya Banks has some good ones. I just read one of her Highlander ones, and he literally like tied her hands behind her back and fucked the shit out of her. And I was like, this was not prepared for that because she hadn't written that in another book. And he was just like, I just want complete control of you. So he ties up her hands and throws.
Is that all?
And I was like, whoa.
Is that all you want? Have you read Son of a Morning by Linda Howard?
Oh, I have her on so many lists. What's it called?
Oh my God. I think I've got it right now. Fucking hell. Son of a Morning.
Son of a Morning.
Yeah. Okay, so you got to be patient because it's not.
Oh, I can be patient.
It's actually very sad. It's a very sad beginning, and there's a bit. If you don't like paranormal, then you won't like it. But there's like some elements to it. And oh God,
Okay.
Niall. Oh my God, Niall. He's this Highlander. Oh my! I might have to reread it actually because fucking hell, he's one of my favorite. Like Linda Howard is my gateway author. I think she really started me from like Harlequin to like more regular romance sort of thing. And because I for a very long time wanted to write Harlequin books, but I can't do it. It's a very I just can't do it. I cannot have these heroes. I try to write enemies to lovers, and then what happens? Owen. I can't do it. I just can't do it. They end up watching fucking Netflix together and shit. I just can't do it. So anyway, but with that particular author, you have like the whole gamut of, Sarah's Child will break you.
Mm-hmm.
It will break you. And then, you'll have like Son of a Morning where that's kind of historical as well. A little bit. And it just makes your heart feel full. And she introduced that to me. So I am very grateful to Linda Howard because she made me realize what a book could do. Because for the longest time, I just used to read crime and romance, not even romantic suspense, or just suspense. I used to read detective novels and things like that. And then I discovered smut. and I've never turned back since.
That's the awakening that we all need.
Yeah.
No, I love that you said that it breaks you though, because lately those have been my favorite historicals. Because I love all the kinds of historicals, but I recently discovered Annie's Song by Katherine Anderson, which is just like heartbreaking. And I read Eyes of Silver, Eyes of Gold by Ellen O'Connell, which is actually an indie historical romance. And like they are so like gut wrenching, and it's like a dark romance. You know, not that historical can't be a dark romance as well, but it gives you those same feelings of like they're really taking on the issues. It's not just an arranged marriage where we need to do this. You know, it's kind of
Judith McNaught does that as well, doesn't she? I've only read a few of hers because they're so long.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem usually, but when I was going through a Judith McNaught phase, I was really quick. I really needed the sex fast. I don't know, but it was just at that phase. So I haven't read her for a while. Like now, I'm not in that mood. If anything, it's the opposite. I like there to be sex, and I like it to be coming, but it's just, you know, there's got to be a story with it, sort of thing. I can't, you know, and with Judith McNaught, I know I need to read her actually. I need to read those because I think I read Whitney My Love years ago, maybe 7 years ago. So I really need to deep dive into her again because I love her books. They get you in the feels as well. Totally. Yeah.
Those I mean, those bodice rippers, they were the beginning of dark romance because they're captive and non-consensual stuff, and those little seeds of it, they like feed you when you're young and first discovering them, and it's like, oh, you didn't watch them? Oh my god.
If you ever read Harlequin books from the 70s, they're rape.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they're rape. You know, like, and if you think actually, like, obviously 70s, that's the
first one ever.
You have a lot. Well, I don't know what the first one ever is, but
the Flame and the Flower. Yeah, The Flame and the Flower by Kathleen E. Woodwis was the first.
Oh right, okay. But I mean, I haven't read that, but you just read them and they're like horrendous.
Yeah.
Like 85% of the book, and then there's like this magic switch, and then for like 15% they're not horrendous, and they just fall in love with each other. And he only did it because he loved her so fucking much.
But he definitely has Stockholm syndrome because he raped her into submission. That's what really happened.
And it's bizarre, like, to read those ones, and then like I used to read a lot of those because that was what were in the charity shops, because I had a bad addiction to those books. You know, I used to be able to read 4 of those a night. Wow. So I went through them like crazy, and I ended up reading a lot of the really old ones, and I think probably that's why I don't enjoy reading that. I don't mind dark romance, but I can't really. Well, I can read non-con. I can read it. It's just I don't get off on it. To be frank, I'm reading it. I'm like, why is this necessary? Why do I have to read this?
It needs to be more like dub-con than non-con.
Right.
Like, if you have non-con work, it needs to be more dub-con into
or consensual non-con.
Yeah. If it's consensual non-con, there we go. But
I mean, I have to say, I never kink shame. I think you do what you want to do. Life is too short. You want to read that stuff, you read that stuff, and you love it, you know. But it's just personal preference.
I think I go through like phases with it, right? Like sometimes I just want a really dark one where this is not a consensual situation, this is not this or whatever is happening, and then I'll read one and I'll be like, okay, scratch that itch for now. Let's go back to a little bit of a thing.
Yeah, it is a mood, isn't it? It's a mood.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something that can be really great about like Mafia, like arranged marriage situations, because they're basically like a dubious consent at best when you have a heroine who did not choose to have this happen and either doesn't want it to happen the whole way through, or the hero like convinces her that like, hey, we can make this work if you just
I think as well for myself, like when you've written BDSM, it's difficult because you go into that knowing if you don't write about a safe, sane, and consensual relationship, you're gonna get shit.
Yep.
So readers are going to slate you. You're not in the lifestyle. You don't know what BDSM is. You're going to get all these comments. So you have to approach it from a very different position. And, you know, consent is king, as it should be, you know?
Yeah.
So my backlist proves I write a lot of varied stuff. I write a lot of varied stuff, and I enjoy writing a lot of varied stuff. But, like...
Oh, no.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No. Sadness. She'll come back.
Yeah, give her a minute. It was getting interesting.
There we go. She's back. There we go.
I'm back. So sorry. I don't know what the hell happened there.
You're okay.
But yeah, so I just dived back into what I was saying. So yeah, so once you have written that, it's difficult to ever get that out of your mind, because BDSM is very has a lot of subtext, and you'll, as an author who wants to make readers happy, going about that rape and non-con in BDSM is just not the way to do that.
Yeah. I have found like that is something that is really frustrating if you went from reading BDSM to then reading a situation where they're using elements of BDSM, but the person is not willing to be there. And then you're like, where's your safe word? Just use it. Get out. And they can't get out. And it's like, wait, I know I'm not reading a BDSM scene, so there isn't that. But because I also read BDSM, I'll be like, I want her to be able to tap out right now. This is not emotionally safe for what's happening.
Right.
So I can't do it.
It's true. I think with BDSM, it's actually quite amusing, really, if you think about it. When 50 Shades of Grey came out, BDSM was the dark romance. It was the darkest dark could be. I mean, to me, I actually liked 50 Shades of Grey, but it was not particularly BDSM. To me, it was not. But, you know, each their own. And that when that came out, was like, oh my God. And now you just have standard rape scenes in books, and it's just, you know, it's just how it is. And it's the evolution makes you wonder what will happen in 10 years' time. You're like, where will we take this? Where will we go? And it's I find it very interesting to think of it coming at this moment where, with Me Too and everything like that, it's very clear that women want to, like, I know when women have been raped and they read that stuff and they have fantasies and they have things like that, and that's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal part of the recovery process. But, you know, it's interesting to think how we are reading it more, and it's becoming something to ponder, something to think about, you know. That's always a good thing. It's always good to start a conversation, you know, to discuss stuff.
Yeah. What are, oh no, mine's frozen. This. What are some of your recent favorite books that are by like your contemporary authors, like people that you write with?
I recently read Canary by Tijan.
Oh, okay. One.
I was very lucky. I got an arc. I got an arc, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then Rise by Cassandra Robbins.
Okay.
So those are actually I read last night a Daddy Dom book as well, because that's my guilty pleasure. I love Daddy Doms. I love them. I love Daddy Doms. And this particular one, Layla Roberts. I think it was Layla Roberts, yeah. So those are I gotta say, the downside of writing is that you don't read as much.
Right.
You can't read as much. You know, like I said to you, I could read four books a day, and I'm a fast reader. And now I'm lucky to read that in 2 weeks. So, you know, but it swings and roundabouts. But yeah, so I read a historical recently as well. That was brilliant. I'll have to find it for you because I think you probably like that, Jen. It was bloody good. Oh, and Elisa Claypass.
Did you read the newest one?
No, I haven't read that yet. It was an old one that I read. It was where he is the chief constable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the one where she has lost her memory.
No.
Or Lady
he's
Sophia's
the chief.
mother. Okay. Yeah. I forgot who was the chief constable. It's Lady Sophia's mother. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh,
That's a
yes,
great one.
I love that.
He's a
Ooh,
bit
yes.
he's a bit of a daddy. Let's be real. He's a bit of a daddy. It's
And it's really
Yeah.
unusual.
He's got even
Yeah.
the step back has his like he has silver on the side. Like that's never in the step backs, but he literally has like great temples, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I love the daddy dynamic. It's an incredibly specific thing. Like I know a lot of people don't like it, and I know like I recently I have to write a novella next year.
What?
Yeah, I have to write a novella next year for this project, and I put in my reader group, and I was like, I need to write a dark novella that's completely not attached to the Feckers and the Sinners and the Valentinis. It's completely new, and I actually put like different, tropes that you could pick. I was like, you tell me what I should write, and I put Daddy Dom, thinking, oh please let Daddy Dom be top, and it was so far down the bottom. Oh, I was so disappointed.
I was gonna when you mention you like that. I was gonna ask if have you written a daddy at all?
No.
Because I mean I haven't read all of your stuff yet, right?
No.
So I was just wondering
Sadly.
if you have written a daddy. Oh well.
No. That is definitely yeah. I have a couple of things I need to write. I need to write a stepbrother. I need to write a stepbrother romance.
Yes.
I need to write a daddy one, but I know that I've written Brat.
Maybe you need to go back and visit the Naughty Nookie and add a third book after all these years, and that could be your daddy. Simply daddy. There we go. I named it.
It's actually, I will be honest, I got really stuck with Edwina's story when I first wrote the series. I burned myself out.
Yeah.
I at the time released a novella a month, and I got to Edwina's, and I have about 40,000 words written of that story.
Yeah.
And so it's really funny because Fabian's not a daddy. Fabian is not a daddy. And so I know that's why I'm laughing, because like I know, yeah. And Eddie, because they've all got their own like thing, right? So like obviously menage to me isn't a taboo, but to a lot of people it's a taboo. So Simply there's the niche's menage, and then Simply Mastered it's BDSM.
Yeah.
And Edwina.
She's a brat.
Yeah.
She's not so much. She likes oh God, what's the word? I can't think of the adult word for it. Dress up. She likes certain scenarios. She likes to act out scenarios. She likes that gets her heart. So, and I believe personally they're some of my sexiest I've ever written.
Yeah.
I can remember the first scene for that. Yeah. So I need to get that. Like I need to finish that. Yeah. But I have been blocked on that series for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to go back and revisit.
Those are the first books of yours that I ever read, and I was sad there was only 2 of them. That makes sense.
Oh.
I'm
glad you were sad because it meant you wanted it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because
I mean, I love it.
It's interesting.
I love the more
books.
Twisted stuff like that. Not that it's fully, but I mean, they're pretty like. I mean, they're not your like normal setup for,
No.
The first one could be considered like cheating. What's happening?
Oh yeah.
More happens.
Yeah, I remember.
But
remember, I always make it happen myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Always. So like that first, can you imagine that as a first book? Like that was my first ever book, and I released that, and they're like, "This is cheating.
Yeah,
this is wrong." And I was like, "Why did I do this? Why did I just not make it easy? They did not have to be married. They could have been."
But it worked for me though. It worked for me though.
It's so good.
I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. Like my general rule is that I don't want to read that, but a good author can make it work for you.
Right.
It's I would say in my career, cheating has been a plague. Like it's something that inadvertently comes up, and it is like a black hole that I can't get out of. I had that issue with Storm.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I have people who say that's the best book I've ever written because of the way that it develops and stuff like that. But I get myself into these situations, and it's funny because like I never intended these things to happen. I specifically remember writing Nyx and having that conversation with Storm. There's like Storm's set up in Nyx. And I remember doing it, and I'm thinking, oh, that'll be interesting down the line.
Right.
Never
You get
thinking that.
Yeah.
Why did I do this? Why?
Yep.
Why did I do that? Why? I could have completely done it. I could have done anything but that. And then it's like, no, you're gonna do it, and you're gonna suffer. You will suffer.
Makes it interesting for the character development and that arc. It's like to see how you bring them out of it and how they get there.
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
I try.
Get there.
Well, I think Jana makes kind of a good point. I feel like people are hard on cheating in romance. Books aren't real. Have fun. Two comments on this, because I think you're right, Jana. I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think a lot of people who do like cheating in books, they're like, well, number one, it's something that happens in real life. So it's cool to read it in a scenario where no one's actually being hurt by what's happening, and we can play out it in the story. And the other part of it is that for me, I'm reading romance, and I don't want to read real life problems happening to people where there's cheating in there for you. Like, I don't want that, you know? So I think there's two sides of it, you know? So
as a reader, I don't like cheating books. But I mean, I don't know if you guys have read Storm yet. I don't know if you have.
No, I read it. I read it because
I
you could read it.
I did too.
You could read it as a standalone so I did. So
I have a problem because with that book, because the way that his cheating unfolds is rape.
Yeah.
And then people argue. Like I really did not mean for this book to become this thing, but like they argue it was rape. No, it wasn't. It was rape. No, it wasn't. Like he was raped.
Yeah.
He was raped.
That's how I.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's a thing to have. It's a funny thing to have to defend because it's like rape doesn't happen to men. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yes, it
well,
does.
women can't rape men.
You.
Yes,
Right.
they
They
can.
say a woman can't rape a man. Like a man could be raped by a man. They say a woman.
It's
can't.
okay.
You don't understand a penis very well, I want to tell you, because like a penis can definitely work without the consent of the person. Like,
I was just going to say, Jen, everybody has the right to say no. Man, woman, doesn't matter. And if my body responds, that's just a difficult response. But
just like your pussy can get wet if someone is raping you too.
Right.
Because they can be raping you and it doesn't hurt you. And that does not mean you said yes. Like,
So people pigeonhole.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, okay, it's okay for a man. I mean, it's not okay, don't get me wrong, but like they can accept that men rape men and that men rape women, but women can't rape men. No. So I have like this whole thing with Storm where they're like, oh, I defend him, and then I've got to a point where I don't defend him because I dreaded Storm's release. I think you can tell that in the author's note. I was so scared that that book was going to destroy everything. I felt like with this universe, I was getting somewhere. People were loving the sinners. They adore the feckers, you know. And I was like, this is just gonna destroy it. And I wrote that book, and it destroyed me. Yeah. And I am very protective of him, but I tend to step back. Yeah. I tend to step back because, like, I know that not everybody reads the same book. Mm-hmm. Not everybody, like, two people can have different, you know, the way that it comes together, and I know that. But it was a funny thing to me because, like, I knew you guys, like, obviously, sorry, Taja, you don't know the ending, but the final epilogue, you know, I knew I had to have a trigger warning there. I literally wrote epilogue, and then I put underneath it in brackets TW, trigger warning. Yeah. And for my editor.
Now,
my
if you would like to. Yeah, that's what she said.
And I actually feel now as if my books have a little recipe card of trigger warnings at the start. Like, okay, so you can't do that, because I didn't used to write trigger warnings, you know, in quintessence.
Tiffany and I fucking love that. We love it. We share the trigger warning page with each other.
They've made me cry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no. I don't mean to make
because
you cry,
it's
though,
with
just saying.
purpose.
Like,
You don't. Yeah,
one
it
for
makes me cry.
the one for Filthy Hot. I like shared to it, and I was like, I'm scared to read this book right now, but not because of the trigger warnings, but because I know I'm like, this is really. These books are going to help someone. Like whether or not anyone reaches out to tell you that, like there's someone who's reading these that's happened to them in any of the things that have happened. And number one, that's why trigger warnings exist, so people can know. But number two, it's there so that they'll be like, wow, maybe this book can help me work through some feelings that I'm having about myself or the shame that we're carrying about something. And I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things where I didn't used to do it because I feel as if now, unless it is non-con or unless it's something extreme, you could inadvertently tell somebody that this is an incredibly dark book, and then you get people saying this isn't dark at all. You know, you do that,
right?
And I think that's a problem. You know, for somebody who is used to very contemporary mainstream romance, who potentially reads a fecker, I think that the feckers would be really dark. But in the grand scheme of things, they're not. You know, like if you read, I can't think of a super dark book right now, but if you read a proper dark book, it's night and day. There's such a massive spectrum of what dark books are. Like I would say for my feckers, I always make it where the romance, the couple, it isn't dark. The bond between them becomes loving. It might start off as coercive, it might start off a certain way, but it will gradually come to this, to where it is, that the world is dark. Yeah. I can tell you now that Filthy Secret is the darkest of them all. Right. And in that sense, like there's violence in there, but between characters, I try not to have that because that's not my cup of tea. That's not my thing. But trigger warnings, I that's why I never used to do it, because I used to think, I'm going to set myself up for a fall. People are going to read it and they're going to be disappointed because it isn't dark, Right. And I feel like I actually, obviously theirs to cherish. I've recently come to realize that I should have a trigger warning in there for miscarriage.
Yes.
That needs to be there. And that came up simply because of the audios coming out. And I think, trigger warnings are there for a reason. And I try to do them. I try to do them justice because I as much as I want readers to read the books and I want you to feel, I want you to feel. Yeah. I don't want you to suffer. So if there is something in there that is going to massively affect you, I am very aware as well that I have to be able to, if you're going to skip a book, I know I have to somehow make it so that everything that happens. It's an incredibly complex process, Yeah. I liken it to a tapestry. I have this massive tapestry and I got to sew, and then loops come along and I got to tighten, and then I got to go back and I got to bring stuff forward. It's an incredibly complicated process, but it's very rewarding. But the trigger warnings for me they're getting really long, and for Storms in particular. I mean, I wrote that. And I actually wrote the author's note a little angry. I was kind of angry when I was writing that because I'd been pushed into a place where I didn't feel like I could write that book. And not without it being detrimental to my career. And when I wrote it and I wrote the ending, all I could think was, everybody wants a Storm in their life.
Yeah.
And I felt by the end, like, I don't know if you agree, but personally, when I read it, I thought Storm redeemed himself. And that's all I could ask myself. That was all I could do.
Yeah.
He showed up. And I think a lot of women wish their man would show up, and they don't, because men are men.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said too, that a dark book won't necessarily maybe even have any triggers. That's like, it isn't triggers that make something dark. As you said, there can be things that happen in life that are just dark, but one of the things that I always tell my viewers is that it isn't things it isn't dark things that trigger me. I'm triggered by things that can happen in a contemporary, regular, happy book that, you know, like it isn't always the things of assault or the things of this or whatever that are what's dark. You know, there are things in just our everyday life that can be triggering. And so I'm not a person that normally triggers like hold me back from a book, but I want to know them. They're more like content warnings for me than they are like trigger warnings, you know? So, and one of them, as you said, like miscarriage is one for me. Like it won't keep me from reading a book, but I would like to know that it's in there.
To prepare. Yeah.
I just read a book last night. I just read a book last night that I was perfectly enjoying it. And then a side character randomly loses their baby and it's a really big deal. And it was just like happens and it's just brushed off because it was just used as a plot point in the story, just thrown in there. And literally I like was ready to throw the book out after that because I'm like, wow, you told such a great book. And then you just threw this in there for no reason. That, oh, her sister just lost her baby. Oh, bummer. It's fine. And it moves right on. And I was like, wow, this book was written 10 years ago. So people aren't as sensitive. But it's like, there are more things than just like, oh, there's non-consensual stuff in here. Like, which for some people that might be their biggest trigger because that's a trigger for them. But for me, I'm like, I'd rather know about those other things. So
I don't think people were less sensitive 10 years ago. I think it was that we felt it. We were just not allowed to show it. We were just not allowed to discuss those things. We were not allowed to necessarily show. It's like, obviously, you know this from the lady. Aoife miscarries. And I'm currently writing that part now. Yeah. And I'm very sad because this is a little bit of a spoiler. I'm not supposed to do this, but you know, Lena had a miscarriage, and it saddens me to think about how she would have been treated back in the, you know, in that time. Yeah. Now we have rainbow babies. Yeah. We talk about these things, about how they affect us. She didn't have that. And I find that incredibly sad. I find that very sad. And it makes me hopeful that now we can do that. We can talk about these things. We can have rainbow babies. We can have hope at the end of the tunnel. We can have dark days and we can have grief. And we can explore those things and it be we can have safe places to land, sort of thing. And like I say, for Lena, you know, she didn't have that. And although she had agency, but I don't know how safe a place he is to land. You know, but he loves her. We know he's obsessed. So he supported her. Don't get me wrong, but you know, the world was not the same place. Yeah, that's sad.
They are.
That's why I appreciate your. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna tell you that I have always appreciated how you do your trigger warnings. They feel like personal letters in the Filthy Fuckers universe. And when you told us, because I'm a survivor and I'm able to read things and they don't trigger me. But again, like I too like the preparation. And when you said to us as readers that I will make them pay, it just meant so much to me because it was also another reminder that you don't gratuitously place things, and I appreciate that.
Never gratuitous.
And so,
ever.
And yeah, I just love that. And the way that you write your top content warnings, they feel like letters. And I also like that you don't apologize for your work, because there's lots of times where I will read trigger warnings in an author's note, but they're almost like apologetic about the content. And I just like the balance that you're able to strike where it feels personal but it's also not apologetic. It's a warning. And I really appreciate that. And with Storm, it's like, you know, despite the differing opinions, it just makes it all the more evident that romance is art because it's starting these conversations. And so I really appreciated that. Oh, the development in that book. There are so many heavy topics about family and addiction and just a lot. So I appreciate the conversation about it. And any romance novel, especially if it's contentious, because if it's contentious, then that means it's challenging and it is worthy of discussion and it's worthy to spark emotion, and it just makes me feel happy because I'm like, yep, romance is art because it's doing all of this. So I really appreciate that about your
genre. Thank you. I appreciate that. You appreciate it because I do write those, and I'm like, it tends to be the phase before they go out to Arc. I have to set up the book to be formatted, right? And I'm like, okay, at this point, I have to know the triggers, and I got to write the author note at the end. And Storm was different. Because I got to a point, and I was writing it, and there was a discussion in a reader group about him. And I could cry now because they said that he deserved to die. And I was writing his story. And I thought, Storm does not deserve to die.
Yeah.
And I wrote the author note. And I was so mad. I was so mad. And I sorry, not the author note, the forward. And I do write them as letters to you. I do, and I write them thinking that most people won't even read them. So it's funny to me. I feel like a lot of people.
Jen's always like, read this one.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I know that they skip it because a lot of the pronunciation guides are in those letters.
Yeah.
And people will come into my diva group and be like, "How do you pronounce Aoife?" And I'm like,
it's in the book.
But
Lucio. Oh, I love it.
I will put, sorry, before you finish, Kindle will skip it a lot of
yes,
times.
it will.
So I know you write the letter, so I back up to read it. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you do, because like I said, I do write them. I write them specifically. It's very important to me. Yeah, and as well, it's annoying because I thought I'd figured out a way to make sure that didn't happen, and that means it's hit or miss. So that's very annoying. Because why does Kindle do that? Why? But anyway, so I was writing, like I say, Storm, and I was at this point. I think it was where, he's like trying to do laundry, and he's trying to be a good husband. I mean, that scene just makes me crack up. Like, of course, of all the days for your daughter to get her period, it's the day before, or it's the day in between her mum being able to deal with it. And he's like, no, I'm woke. Basically, I need to be able to deal with my daughter's period, sort of thing. And it was just like, I wanted it to be very much about life. I wanted it to be about being a dad to that, to that young of a girl who's gone through what she's gone through. And I was just being told that this guy deserved to die. And it was just, I was in such an angry mood that day. So when I write those author notes, like I say, normally it's at the end of the process. And I'm specifically, it's weird. I talk to you as individuals, but I know I have to make it as a collective. And I'm writing it and I'm thinking, I hope they read this. I know some people won't, but I hope they do. And I hope that, like that particular author note at the end where I said, I am making them pay for you.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's such a very strange thing because like I can feel my face and I'm writing and I'm making them they're fucking paying. I'm making them pay. And it happens at like with Camille and the teeth. I was like she's caring because it takes a lot to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like such a visceral thing. And it's just such a So when I write those author notes, it means a lot that you read them. Thank you for reading them. Thank you.
Well, the beginning of Filthy Hot too at the church, I love that. And that's Finn's POV too, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I was like, oh my god, this is great. Okay, couple quick ones here. We're gonna try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. We've almost been on here 2 hours.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No. This is all wonderful, but we just have a few of the audience questions from who's watching right now. So Steph Loves to Read asks, which character do you identify the most with yourself?
I am not a Nobel Prize winner. I am not a mathematician by any stretch of the imagination, but Devon.
Yeah.
From Quintessence.
Somebody knew already, by the way. But I still
that's my mom. That's my mom.
That is adorable.
She's watching downstairs. She's with me in the UK and she's downstairs watching it. Yeah, Devon, because Devon, he is I used to be like him in the sense that I had to develop a filter. And Devon never did. So the stuff that he says, the things that he thinks, a lot of the time it's me. Like the stuff about the tribe, the stuff like, the things like that. And it's just, yeah, he gets away with it because of his, the way he is. And like, I was not so lucky to get away with those stuff. So I just developed a facade basically. So Devon is me.
Love it. Which book besides Storm was the hardest to write? Probably the one right now.
The feckers are always hard because there is a lot of expectation on them.
Yeah.
The sinners are popular, but the feckers are mega popular.
Yeah.
So when I write the feckers, I'm always terrified of disappointing.
Sure.
And I have to be very, the only way that I feel as if I don't disappoint is that by the end of it, like, you see the brothers interacting. It's very important to me that the story's happening, but you get the brothers. And I don't know why, it's a very important thing to me. So that's usually how I try to calm myself. That's why you get a lot of brother interaction, because to me, that is very important to the series, to the book and everything.
I loved Christmas in Filthy Hot. It's Christmas, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I love that holiday when we're all together.
Yeah. Like I love that too. I just love the idea of like Declan giving Ayla this old pot, and everybody's like, "Why the fuck would you give her this old pot?" And she's like, "Oh my god, it's this ancient Mayan pot," and it's just like so specific to them. I try to do that with them. I try to give them like those, like I always want to give you little glimpses of who they are, So like that's them. Nobody else would be really happy about an old terracotta pot, but Ayla would, So yeah, I loved Christmas.
There's something about it too of like Tiffany and I have talked about this a lot, that like there's such a fucked up relationship with their mom and dad because of the things that they've had to do to make sure their sons are ready to do this. But if there wasn't any love there at all, they would just kill the old man and move on. You know what I mean? Like you could not withstand them all. So there is a respect and a love for their crazy dad. Or not do these things. They would just like, okay, Dad, we're done with you. You know what I mean?
That's it. Oh yeah, and it's not just that. It's Lena as well. It's Lena. Like I think I have a lot of people who hate Lena. I have a lot of people who hate Senior. I have a lot of people who love them both. I get the whole gamut sort of thing. And the only thing I can say is that they were in a very unique situation.
Yeah.
Lena did her best. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. That's the truth. But she did her best.
Making your boys strong enough while still loving them, and the fact that like there is still relationship there. Like we've read plenty of Mafia where there's no relationship left, and there still is. Like they still want to go to church for her when she wants. Sometimes, and okay, and also Filthy Hot. Lena and Aiden Sr. Like I was not expecting those POVs, and I may have cried a lot. I was like, Tiffany, you're going to die when you get to this.
It was really important to me. I felt like if there was ever anything that we needed to see them experience was because of. I mean, it's funny because Connor is he's not the baby.
I know.
Connor is not the baby. But they kind of treat him like he's the baby. He's kid. He is kid for a reason. Like Owen, who is the baby, calls Connor kid. It's like it doesn't make sense. But they think he's so fragile, and he is not fragile. But they think he is. So anyway, but I mean,
most of them don't even know. Most of them don't even know what the burden that he was holding.
Yeah.
No.
Like they don't know. So
one of the favorite things of mine in Filthy Hot is at the beginning when Aiden is under the blanket and Finn and Connor come and sit on him, you remember that? Like, he's just in this little blanket fort, and like Connor sits on him, and Finn says, "Should we do that?" And Connor's like, "Why the fuck not?" So they sit on him, and then Aidan's like, "You fuckers, leave me alone to die in peace, please." And it's just brothers. It's brothers, they're just like, no, why would we do that? We're gonna make your life hell, but we love you. We always love. Remember, it's from a place of love.
We're gonna be brothers forever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love those moments because the heroines get them too. It makes me like the Christmas moments. It's like the heroines get drafted into this family. So I love the brotherhood moments.
Oh yeah.
Family just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Can you imagine Lodestar like scamming the brothers at Christmas with cards? Can you it's coming? It's just coming.
Oh
I just know it is. Like they're just gonna be so poor. She's gonna be like.
I'm really interested to see an interaction between Lodestar and Lena, because I think we'd think that she wouldn't like her, but I think Lena is going to respect her a lot. But I can just see her coming in like her leather and like biker boots, and Lena in her like prim and proper like church outfit, and being like, and all of her other daughters-in-law are pretty like, their Mafia daughters too for the most part, and then there's Lodestar.
Oh yeah, Ayla had blue hair when she went in. That's not exactly rebellious, but to a traditional, devout Irish Catholic family, that was like, what the fuck? That was so funny to me. Oh dear.
Okay, so Heather has a question about reading order, so I just wanted to put something there.
So I'm just reading. So in long story short, The Bound was one of the first ever books I ever finished. And I released it, and when I was writing The Don and the Lady, I realized I shortchanged them. So I have pulled Bound. Bound will be re-released. Will be called Infiltrated, and it will come out at some point. I don't know when. It is not important to the reading order. You will meet some characters in there along the way, but I wrote it in a way where it's, I always try to write it in a way where it's helpful to people who've read them all, and it's like a little nod, but if you don't know who they are, they're just characters. So it's even the same with All Sin and No Saint. Again, a lot of people don't like RH. You don't have to read it, but if you do like RH, I read everything. I read RH, Menage, and MM and MF. So like for me, why wouldn't you read All Sin and No Saint too? But if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world, So I have seen one of your videos, Jen, where I think it was really early on, and you were like, why? And I'm going to answer your question. Why is it the 5 Points Mob Collection and the Filthy Feckers?
Yeah.
It was like it was a question for you. And I was like, when I saw that, I thought, I'm going to answer. So, because to me, when Filthy Rich is happening, Finn is not a filthy fecker yet. So, Filthy Secret, he's a filthy fecker. In Filthy Secret, he's a fecker. And that's why I did it specifically. So, Filthy, the branding's different, the title's different, and then it goes to the feckers. So, Filthy is book 1. It's the start, but obviously there is a time leap between Filthy and Filthy Rich. Yeah. So that's why. So it's the
had a different name before too. That one had a different name.
Well, that one had a completely different name, and it was really funny because I had such a feeling about those books. I called them Screw You, Screw Me. I had such a feeling about them. I thought I believe in these characters. Like I feel I could do more with them, and it flopped. It flopped so bad. As Screw You, Screw Me. It was like, it just did nothing because I was such an RH author at the time. And now it's like top 100 series. It's insane. I was right to have faith.
Yeah. Rebranding makes a big difference with stuff too, though. There are so many authors where I'm like, I look at their covers, but I know what's inside the book. And I'm like, if you would recover this book, you would. And I just read, like, my literal favorite historical romance at this moment has the ugliest ass cover I have ever seen in my life. Like, it is shit. It's horrible. But it was written 11 years ago, and it was like when it was clearly was probably made in like paint. Like the cover was probably made in like kinetic paint.
But
And
the book is so
I
good.
want a new cover. Right. But the inside is amazing. And I'm like, I wish this author was someone like, I don't think she's really still writing, but I wish I could reach out to her and be like, please recover this book because I really want everyone to read it. And some people just will not read the book if the cover is shit like that. Like they just won't when it's on Kindle.
It's a funny thing because as an author, we always have to be prepared to change a cover. And with that comes a backlash. There's usually a forward advantage, but there's this perception that authors are trying to scam readers.
Right.
There's this perception. And you get bad reviews for it. And I just want to say, like, there's no scam.
Yeah.
It's literally that. People judge a book by its cover. That first cover didn't work. It's not that, we're trying to hide the secrets in the book that you didn't like, that gave it a 1 star. It's that it didn't work. You got to repackage it. You got to change it. I mean, Filthy now has had 4 different reincarnations, really. Yep. It was, it was Screw You, Screw Me. It became The Air He Breathes. Then it became Filthy. But then I changed the covers so they all matched to the new. And this is the last final one,
I'm sad, but I'm also excited for it because the inside's still the same. I'm just, I'm a collector, so I'm like, hey, gonna change.
I gotta say that it makes me feel so bad when readers have collected the paperbacks, and I feel so guilty. And then it's like there's an evolution, you see, because you start off and you can't necessarily afford the cover models.
Right. Exactly.
You can't.
Exactly.
And then you reach a point and you can.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, let's give these boys, that's the way I think of them that way. Mm-hmm. Let's give these boys the covers they deserve. And I did the same with The Sinners. I got to a point and I thought they all need to have their own faces. They need to be they deserve for the cover to match, for the curtains to match the drapes, sort of thing. They deserve for it all to be as perfect as can be. But I do feel really bad about that. It's one of my regrets, actually. I have readers. I'm thinking of one in particular. Her name's Gemma, and she has every single book of mine in every single incarnation of it. She has just a fucking bookshelf full of my books because you make mistakes along the way. You start off and you think this is a good idea, and you realize it was a terrible idea. You come across this way, and it's just it's like with Filthy. It did nothing. It did better. It did great, and then all of a sudden it just, and it's because of the cover, because nothing changed. Yeah. In the inside, nothing in the inside. Oh, I changed. I can tell you now. I changed a sentence because
it was bugging you.
Reference. And I changed it because there was a reference to a 5-pointer raping a girl. And I got a bad review for it, saying how I victim shamed. And I reworded it because I do not victim shame. And if it came across that way, I was mad that it came across that way. So I scrubbed that reference.
Nice.
And that's the only thing I changed because I do not victim shame. Never.
I love it.
So I
think it's something to say too that like the people that get annoyed about it, like it makes us maybe be like, oh dang it, but I'm always happy when books are going to be more marketable people. Like I'm always going to be excited that people are reading it, and if it takes that it needs a new cover, I don't care. Like do what you got to do because you can only afford what you can afford at the time. And if the books are doing well enough to get that,
I'm very lucky right now. I can make sure that everything fits. Right. I can do that now, but I couldn't when I started. Nobody can when they start, And it's just it is a whole of it. Like somebody once said when they released the new covers, they said your books are an evolution of your career. Yeah. And I wholeheartedly believe that. It's like it starts off and you're a newbie, you're fledgling, and then all of a sudden you can fly. And it's not to say I make mistakes. I don't make mistakes. I do make mistakes. I don't mean that. I just mean they are an evolution. You start off, you are one thing, and you gradually become, More.
Yeah.
That's the way of it.
And now she's on audio. She's moving on the audio.
And Jacob Morgan. Let's not forget Jacob Morgan here. There's Jacob fucking Morgan. Oh my god, it just makes me like I don't fangirl often. I fangirl. The idea of him narrating Finn is just like, yeah. I don't know who's narrating the
If Gwen is going to be replaced by somebody, it can be Jacob Morgan. But Gwen and Kai are the real life like love story, and they read, they do their books. They've been married for quite a while, and they have babies. And it's wonderful.
They do. Yeah, I have quite a few narrated by them actually. Like they were my go-tos for a long time. Like the Professor's done by them. Because I love Wen's baritone.
Oh yeah.
Well,
when so good. Yeah, also there was an interview. Sorry, this will be the last thing that I say on this, and then we'll have to end this. But like there's an interview that they did with like a podcast, and they talk about, the lady asked him, she's like, "What are your favorite scenes to do together?" And Kai throws him out and was like, he really likes blowjob scenes. And he's like, well, you really like bondage scenes.
Well, he's dumb, isn't he?
They do dual narration a lot of times. So they're narrating together at the same time in the same room. And sometimes they do alternating chapters. And I was like, not going to lie, that gives me an extra level of excitement that they're doing these, you know, maybe I have to take you to the other room after a bit.
Talk about a great job for your marriage. Every day with somebody different, you know, you can't get bored of each other.
Well, thank you to everyone who stuck with us for 2 hours of awesomeness with Serena. Thank you for staying up late with us. Taji, Tiffany, thanks for being here. And yeah, this has been, I have Serena's website is linked down below if for some reason you haven't checked her out by now. Don't know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. It was wonderful.